Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very interesting upload, one that I really did spend quite a bit of time looking at, trying to put it together for you all, and trying to get some puzzle pieces to fit in my puzzle as well as yours. So before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. They are appreciated and they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so I do have some very terrifying and interesting experiences that were shared to me by subscribers that I want to share with you also in this upload. But I want to address and talk about a connection that I think gets overlooked. And the idea came to me briefly from an email that I had gotten in regards to a comment on a video that I had done talking about the missing 411. And the comment was sort of rude. And the subscriber that sent it to me wanted me to kind of address the situation because in the outro and intro, I talk about respect for each other. It's one thing for me to get crapped on because I say a ton of times, but there is a correlation in the missing 411 deep underground military bases, where these events are happening, where these bases are, what are being seen around these bases, who are seeing these creatures, and whatnot. Pretty much the comment was, and I am going to go deep into some Nephilim information, some reptilian information, and some deep underground military base information, as well as proving that the government is harnessing Dogman. So the comment pretty much said, the missing 411 has been debunked, doesn't exist. And I thought about that, and I snickered, because when I first started this channel, I didn't look at any kind of connections. I had researched and read as much as I could, and I didn't join any kind of Facebook clubs or whatever you want to call them. I just stuck to myself and kept my own information and research, just building my own puzzle. But when I started to branch out and meet people like James, Dark Waters, he opened my eyes to a whole other world, a whole other connection out there. Another subscriber, Elizabeth Sisney, she introduced me to the world of Tom Horn and Stephen Quayle, who both I admire. And unfortunately, Tom Horn has since passed. I've always been a big fan of Bill Cooper since I first read Behold the Pale Horse when I was younger. But as for the missing 411 and the research behind that, I never really looked into it too much until I got completely fascinated with the Tom Mezek case, which is in upstate New York. It's in my backyard. It's 20 minutes from my house. And the comment about it being debunked is absolutely insane and untrue. You don't have to like the person that coined that phrase or does that research, but you have to admire and look at the information that he brought to the table, because it is truly amazing. And for someone to say that the 411 doesn't exist and it doesn't happen, Tom Mezek's a case. He is a perfect example. November 15th, 2015, a man is up in upstate New York, hunting with family and friends on a trip he has done 30 years prior, and mysteriously vanishes. He's older, yes, but he taught survival skills. He was an airborne ranger. He had a rifle, a walkie-talkie, and they never found a thread of clothing, a bullet, nothing. Right there's enough proof to say the 411 is real and exists. The connections. 411s, that phrase, or that whatever, is coined and takes place in national parks, national, federal, state parks. There is a uncountable amount of people that disappear. Do we consider the people in Alaska, the thousands that have disappeared in that kind of Alaskan triangle region, a 411? I do. The trucker, Devin Williams, at one point, he was a 411 until they found his body. The mystery is the reason why everything transpired. I had been reached out, a gentleman reached out to me and told me that the government was using tractor trailers and unknowing truck drivers to transport these creatures. Why was he going through a state park? Like, barrel-assing through that state park. Unless he found out what he was hauling. Or he couldn't find that deep underground military base that was in that state park. Just a, observation. I'm no expert. Now, the connection to all that is people are seeing or have seen large human-like figures, giants. We'll just call them giants instead of Nephilim. I consider them to be a Nephilim. But in state parks, federal parks, national parks, whatever you want to call them, throughout the years, I think my oldest experience ever shared was just the other day with Mount Katahdin in 1983. Ranging all the way through, People have spotted these things in Alaska, Canada, Maine, New Mexico, Utah, Idaho, all in state parks, all in very remote regions of those state parks. A subscriber just recently shared with me a friend of his brother had a very strange experience where he was in one of these kind of facilities. He was abducted. And as he was getting led through and for some reason released, saw a giant creature saw Dogman, saw other strange creatures in these holding tanks, and then saw the strangest of all, an angelic-like creature being kind of held in place in the strangest form, not with a hammer or a wood and nails crucifix, but chained in the air like this, with wings. You have Brad, who was and had an experience with an angelic creature that killed a Dogman. Is it an angel? We don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't get a chance to ask Daniel, which was what this person or creature, I hate saying creature because I don't know if it was an angel, and I don't mean that in any disrespect, but are you an angel? Are you a Nordic kind of alien? What are you? There's so many connections, and yet so many people just overlook these connections. The 411 is not and was never debunked. That just really bothered me. Especially being that I have dedicated a large part of my life for the last 4 years to researching Tom Mezek's case. I know there's other channels out there that do a video here and there. I go to that location because I have the access to go there. Just like there's people that have the access to go to the LBL because they live in that right there. Take advantage of the access you have and research the places where you are close by and live. I'd actually like to go up to Mount Katahdin next year if I get a chance to go up to Maine. But, these connections are real. The other day, about a week ago, I shared with y'all something called Project Red Book, which was similar to Blue Book, but put together by a person who worked with or for the government and shared some not deep underground military bases, but facilities and tunnel connections. So I started doing a little bit of my research, and I wanted to share this with you guys. This is a correlation of data from many sources. It is based on documents which are believed to be written by responsible individuals who have either witnessed the information firsthand or knew someone who did and came by the material in an honest atmosphere. If you do not believe the information presented here can be possible, then perhaps you should go elsewhere and try to live your life out in as normal existence as possible. The material here has been reported by real people. The government, of course, would deny it. If you do believe that the concepts represented here may be possible, then you may learn a great deal from the following lines of text. So, much of the United States is honeycombed with naturally occurring caves and cave systems, sinkholes, abandoned mines, especially in the West. The government, federal and state, is the biggest landholder owner in states that the underground bases are purportedly to be in. Top 10 ranked in order of percent of state land owned acreage by federal/state governments. Percentage of state acreage federally owned. Nevada, 87.8% of that state is owned by the government. Utah, 67.9%. Alaska, 67%. Idaho, 65.2%. Oregon, 55.5%. California, 49.9%. Wyoming, 49.7%. Arizona, 44.3%, Colorado, 38.9%, and New Mexico, 36.2%. That is state land and acreage owned by the federal government. The 10 most. This is the 10 most owned by federal and state combined. Alaska, 96.8% of that state is owned combined federal and state. Nevada, 89.2%. Utah, 75.2%. Idaho, 70.4%. Oregon, 60.4%. Arizona, 56.8%. Wyoming, 56%. California, 52.1%. New Mexico, 47.5%. And Colorado, 43.3%. Isn't it coincidental that a majority of the experiences that I've ever shared on my channel involving deep underground military bases, government cover-ups, Nephilim sightings, reptilian sightings, and others are in those 10 states. California, you got Mount Shasta. New Mexico, you've got Taos, Albuquerque, Dolce. Colorado, you still have right above that is the Archuleta Mesa that connects New Mexico and Colorado. You know, it isn't a coincidence because it's real. There is a correlation, direct correlation to the events that we are witnessing, that I talk about on my channel daily, and other people do as well, to our government, state and federal. That's why I always say the state or the federal, state, and local government always are the ones doing the cover-up. Tony Aarons, Amber Miller, Cott County, Tennessee, both attacked 3 months apart, Coincidentally, huge canine-like paw prints around both people, just savagely torn apart. A homeless encampment down the road, people talking about dogmen on Jimtown Road in Cott County. Then that homeless encampment is closed, pushed. Why? Where did they put those homeless? No one knows. No one knows. California, San Bernardino, a homeless population is being preyed upon by dogmen. I've had subscribers, 2 different subscribers, come on the show and share. Some other information that I feel necessary to share. There is currently 96 government, mostly FEMA, underground bases and 129 deep underground military bases in the United States. Where do the majority of those fall? In those 10 states. 29 Palms, California, functions unknown, levels unknown. Tunnels to Chocolate Mountains. Fort Irwin, California, possible. One more site due west a few miles. Notes, some alien autopsies performed at 29 Palms. Albuquerque, New Mexico, Air Force Base, functions unknown, levels multiple. Tunnels to Carlsbad, New Mexico, Los Alamos, New Mexico, possible connections to Datel and other points. Alpine, Utah, functions unknown, levels unknown, tunnels to unknown. Area 51, functions, aircraft research and development, other projects take place at Area 51 in Nevada. Dreamland, data repository establishment and land maintenance land. Electromagnetic intelligence, Cold Empire, Code EVA, program, hybrid intelligence system, infrared intruder systems, bypass, and REP, REP hyphen tiles, etc. Security, optical DNA, oil of skin, operating rooms on several floors, several theaters, complete hospital, fully staffed, and has everything imaginable. The reporting person had worked as a locksmith in Area 51 for 12 years. He did not see any creatures while on any levels, but admits that there were many closed areas that he was not allowed into and could have housed or had alien visitors reported. This was actually reported on the Art Bell show back in 1995. And, just levels 12 known. Tunnels 2 for Irwin, California Page, Arizona, and Nevada and Arizona. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of scroll to some of the more famous ones. Denver, Colorado. Functions unknown, levels unknown, tunnels, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Cheyenne Mountain, Riverton, Wyoming, Denver International Airport. Functions unknown, levels multiple. Tunnels 2, Denver, Colorado. Notes, recently constructed, it is reported to serve as a cover for underground facilities there. It is supposed an alien base which leads into the Rocky Mountains, constructed in 1995, wildly over budget and amid charges of corruption, constant construction companies changing, mass firings of teams once they had built a section of their work. It was reported to serve as a cover for a vast underground facility that were built there. There is also reports of electromagnetic vibrations, which make some sick, causing headaches. There are acres of fenced-in areas which have barbed wire pointing into the area, as if to keep things in and not out. So you find some of these locations and you can access them. You can't get out. So it's almost like what would be around a prison. Obviously, we know much about Dolce. I am obsessed with Dolce and their underground military base. Dolce, New Mexico. Functions alien interface, research of mind-related functions. Levels 7 known. 1. Level 1, garage for street maintenance. Level 2, garage for trains, shuttles, tunnel boring machines, and disc maintenance. Level 3, everyone is weighed in the nude and given jumpsuit uniform. The weight of the person is put into a computer ID card each day. Change in over 3 pounds requires a physical exam and x-ray. Level 4, human research in the occult areas. Aurora, mental telepathy, hypnosis, astral traveling, etc. Level 5, alien housing is on. Level 5, a room circular for the electromagnetic generator is nearly 200 feet in diameter and covers the 5th and 6th levels. Level 6, privately called Nightmare Hall. It holds genetic experiments. Experiments done on fish, seals, birds, mice that are vastly altered from their original forms. There are multi-armed and multi-legged humans, several cages and vats of humanoid bat-like creatures up to 7 feet in height. Aliens have taught the humans a lot about genetics, things both useful and dangerous. 7. Humans in cages here, usually drugged or dazed, sometimes crying for help. Level 7 is the worst. Row after row, thousands of humans and or human mixture remains in cold storage. Below 7, unknown other levels, unexplored by humans. Aliens here, exits into vast underground cavern series, unexplored by humans, but suspected to be a huge alien culture area. And their tunnel system is gigantic, leading out to Colorado Springs, Colorado, Creed, Colorado, Los Alamos, New Mexico, Page, Arizona, Taos, and more. I mean, there is so many connections here. I don't know how people don't recognize that our government is, it's not even our government, it's the one world government. Our government is just a puppet. The government that we elect is a puppet for the sheeple. Here's one that I did find interesting because of I've shared many experiences on my channel, and I know other people and other folks that have channels have talked about the Wahila in the Nahanni Valley or the Headless Valley. Functions unknown. There's a deep underground military base there. Functions unknown. Levels unknown. Tunnels too unknown. Notes, this covers 250 square miles in the southern end of the Mackenzie Mountains of Canada. It lies almost 550 miles due west of Fort Simpson on the Mackenzie River of northwest Canada. Hot springs and sulfur geysers keep the valley warmer than the surrounding areas by about 30 degrees year-round. The valley is above 60 degrees latitude, making it perpetually mist-covered. The valley is inhabited only by animals, as people entering the valley usually found headless and dead. Native American tribes of the area avoid the valley. These tribes include Ojibwe, Beaver Chippewyans. This valley is often referred to as the Valley of the Headless Men. And Chippewyans. How many people have, you research Dogman, you research cryptozoology, and you've heard of this Headless Valley. And now, come to find out, there's a deep underground military base. Skinwalker Ranch, we all know that, they'll never admit to it, but there is something there. I would put everything and anything on that. So that's just some of the information I wanted to share with you guys, because the connections are right in front of us, and we, myself included, didn't realize it until a couple years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago. I started to realize, hey, there is a connection, and I say biblical connection, but these connections and what has been going on is far older than the Bible itself. So, but there is an evil and there is a good angelic demon. Angels and demons are both older than the Bible. So, there's you got to consider it some kind of connection. Biblical what? I don't know. But it is, and it's there, and it's right in front of us. People are still seeing Nephilim. People are seeing angels. People are seeing chimera. Dogman is essentially a chimera. Half human or whatever, and half dog. If it is exactly dog, which I don't believe it to be. I believe in Sumerian texts they talk about a dog-headed race of alien, which was very aggressive. And there were less of them on the planet Earth. Pretty much planet Earth was inhabited by reptoid. So I wanted to share that with you. Let's jump into some encounters quick, and then I've got some other really awesome stuff to share. The first subscriber submitted experience is a subscriber reached out to me in the live stream and wanted to share this with me. I'm going to interview him in a couple days here. I just got to get things kind of settled down in my house. Like I said a couple days ago, I'm a dad. I got a daughter who's 16, going to be 17, and kind of going through some things with her right now. So I haven't been able to do as many interviews or talk to as many people as I want. So I do apologize to anyone. Jeff, I want you to share my experience. I'm from Ohio, up north of Lake Erie. When I was young, my dad owned 13 acres down in Cads, Ohio. I used to visit on the weekends as kind of an escape for all of us, my dad, his girlfriend, and myself. Honestly, it was nice to be in the middle of nowhere for once. I spent many summers there and loved it. I received a Honda XR70 dirt bike on my birthday. I can't remember how old, maybe 12? I'm 30 now. Anyway, the road our property is located on was at the edge of two roads. One, Barger, I think. The other didn't have a name, but the no-name road went back for a kid what seemed like miles, but probably like a mile or so. But all woods and surrounding areas were hunting lands with cabins in the woods like ours, maybe like 2 or 3. At the end of the road was an abandoned home that some teens trashed up pretty badly, so I avoided it. But just before it was a pond that I liked to ride my dirt bike to and relax a bit, since the road was rugged and a rough ride. It was fall time, and I had grown used to riding back there, but this one time changed me forever. Like, literally changed how I look at the world. Man, okay, enough babbling. I turned my bike off next to the pond. I had a kill switch thing on the bike. I took off my helmet, and I was sweaty and picking bugs out of my eyes from riding. I didn't notice until I thought about this over and over again that it was completely quiet. No birds, no wildlife making any kind of noise. Usually the resident beaver would be splashing around. The pond was overgrown, and that helped out whatever this thing was. I heard a low growl, which I thought might have been a far-off tractor engine or something. I didn't mind it until I heard footsteps, like heavy ones across the pond, so like maybe 100 feet. I saw a tuft of black pointed things sticking up. I was still sitting on my bike on the dirt road when this happened. I was intrigued, so I stayed. Big mistake. This thing stepped out from the cattails. It was tall, dark, and had a German Shepherd's-like head. I was in shock. It turned and looked at me. I was already tailing out of there. I turned my bike on, and this thing, it roared so loud it vibrated my chest. I was scared. I was peeling out of there and never looked back in fear that this thing was chasing me down. I was crying and terrified at the same time. This is the first time I have shared this experience. Of course, my dad asked what was wrong when I got back. I wanted to leave that night. I begged to go home to my mom's house. He thought I was kidding until he saw me shaking so bad I couldn't even walk. Like, to go through this was hard for me and people to think you're nuts for even the remote idea. So yeah, I grew up with this, knowing that these things were out there. Today's second subscriber experience. I don't know if I have permission to share his first name, so I'm just going to refer to him as C. Jeff, my name is C. I'm a Christian and a fairly recent subscriber from the bold and beautiful, wild, wonderful state of West Virginia, 20-25 minutes south of Cumberland, Maryland, and 20-25 minutes northwest of Kaiser, West Virginia, hills and hollers. To give more context, I live on a farm of 300 acres that contains 80-plus Black Angus cattle, 3 poultry house of 95,000 chickens. Oh yeah, and many and large-scale operation for my stepdad. And I, for sure, have never noticed anything strange on this property, but his family has had this farm and acreage for many generations. So, God knows what they've encountered. They probably would never say anything if they did. We take any dead chickens or any other animals almost a mile away up into the woods on the edge of a large field, a place we call the dead zone. All of the bones and stench of death is quite ominous along with the recent paths I've noticed to go to and from the area. It seems there is one large path along with two smaller paths that reach the dead zone, along with some bedding that seems abnormally large for even a coyote. I'm wondering if my presence a few days prior would have anything to do with this encounter. I also want to mention that in the 30 years of living here, I've only seen one black bear about 20 minutes south, but in this part of West Virginia, there is a very small population of black bear. I've seen a few UFOs or UAPs experience sleep paralysis and believe in the supernatural world and the constant war of good versus evil. But the early morning hours of June 27th started the experience in which I became way more familiar and initiated, so to speak, in the world of Dogman. A world I don't recommend anyone becoming part of unless you don't have a say. Of course, then it becomes part of you. Around 1 a.m, I went out to my car to get something. I don't even remember what it is now. And I first noticed no wind, not a single cricket or creature making a sound. Usually this time of year in the summer, there's all sorts of insect and large bullfrog toad that are all around the little pond and waterfall we have out back. I found that odd, but kept walking out of the enclosed back porch toward my vehicle. But seconds after I hear what sounds like a large person, I want to mention that at the first exact moment of me typing this out at the library, a random small teen said, "Wolf," like out loud from reading a book, coincidentally. Strange, at least. Back to the thing I thought was a person walking forcefully yet purposely on 2 feet. I know what deer sound like, especially since that is the most common animal around. It was definitely not. I stopped in my tracks and said, "Hello, who is there?" It stopped, then sped up somewhat, but I did not make another sound. It did not make another sound. I could not see exactly where it was, but knew it was on the gravel driveway, which was fairly large. Nothing like the sound of something large late at night on 2 feet stalking around your home with gravel giving way beneath its weight. I was instantly scared with that unprovoked terror that people talk about and knew that something was off or wrong, especially since it didn't run away or respond back. People don't just walk around in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, with no respect or fear of what the owners may do. We have guns. Also, I got no smell other than the smell of fear. I then went inside and grabbed my AR-15, a phone, and a light, but I found I didn't have enough sense to lock the door. And I didn't have enough hands, so why people freeze up or don't think about grabbing their camera to try and get a shot. But I was thinking I may have to shoot, all right? I went to the balcony with my gun and light that overlooks the driveway and can see some of the front yard and a good portion of the back. I say, "Who is there? You better speak up. I have my gun and I will use it." This thing has now moved up along the wooden fence line we have that separates us from the woods, as I can hear it stomping through the dry grass. It was a very dry summer. I shined the light around and only got one glimpse of something hairy with a large head standing on 2 legs. Hunched over somewhat like a T-Rex, creepily tiptoeing between the large brush and the fence towards the waterfall that is across from the back porch. I believe that the deafening aspect of absolutely no sounds around was probably the predatory response or defense mechanism that us humans should not take lightly. The way this creature was positioned when moving and my weak-ass light made me see more of its shadow than anything, but I did see it was gray, maybe some light brown like a coyote. But with no moon out and being behind the brush, I couldn't see much after that. I would say 6.5 feet if I had to guess, but it all happened so quickly. All I knew was fight, flight, freeze, or whatever. I was in fright mode. I did at least leave the porch lights on while making sure the inside lights were off. I went to the guest/TV room that has one window looking out upon the front porch, though I did pull the blinds down, grab my phone with 911 punched in and ready to go, mind you, along with the AR and bunkered down in this room. This could be a battle of my life. I try to position myself where I can move quick if need be while keeping my eye on the hallway to my right and the front porch window on my left. Within 15 minutes, I noticed something moving around up and down the steps of the front porch along with noises in the backyard still. Now it really hits me. There are more than one of these things. For the first 30 minutes to an hour, I was too scared to even get my phone out and try to get a video of the noises at least. While having a Charlton Heston grip on my gun, the rest of the night, off and on, I could hear 1 to 2 of these things stalking the house with intelligent intent, but sometimes bumping into things. Other than those things, you could hear a sloth blink. It was so quiet. I eventually noticed the banging that sounded hundreds of feet away, but I couldn't be a good judge of sounds outside of any lengthy distance. It could have been at the wood furnace building shed just 75 feet away. It was like something banging sporadically, then stopping for a bit, then starting again, but with different variations. I think there may have been a third creature trying to lure me outside, as the other two were outside around each porch of each side of the room, for that matter. At least one of them, I believe, was stalking around the door/window while the other looked for any signs of other animals, people, or neighbors, or maybe just waiting for me to walk outside. These sounds went on for at least 1:30 a.m. to about 5:30 a.m. when it started to get light and the other creatures seemed to leave. This period is when I tried to capture some of the action or sounds on my phone, and I do have evidence of the sounds, but it's nothing like being there in the moment with the heart racing and heightened senses. I don't know if you ever stayed in an open spot for 4 hours, but it begins to take its toll. You practically stay frozen while being totally aware. I'm somewhat ashamed and flabbergasted of this, but I urinated in a 2-liter bottle that was in the trash of the room. I've never had, and pray to the Lord, never will have, another experience like this, where the fear engulfs your whole body and environment around you. From around 3:15 to 3:30, I did get one smell that I noticed. For you hunters, the smell was like when a deer gets gutted, and you do a whoopsie and nick the stomach/colon along with a burning sensation of your nostrils and eyes, or think blood/feces. It slowly crept up to me, and I instantly knew one of them was close. I could hear some heavy breathing or panting, along with noises against the wall and window. The one against the wall sounded like scratches, like when a cat swipes its paw against a toy or something. The sound against the window many times sounded like teeth touching it when it was trying to look in. Hate to say it, it reminds me of American History X, the curb scene. I felt like I didn't belong here, like a mixture between being a boy in the bubble, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Dog Soldiers, where they are stuck in the house. I felt like I was in between two worlds/dimensions that paralleled each other, but with no way out until morning. At around 5:30, I heard what sounded like whimpering from the one closest to the window, and I noticed one neighbor we have leaving for work, and the light just starting to come. Then a quick yelp that caused the others to regroup, if I had to guess. I think they knew they were going to have to leave and that their possible meal was going to stay locked down and loaded. It was truly an unbelievable night that I will never forget. I believe these things are part demonic, part physical/cryptid, part psychological or emotional, even feeding on fear and awe. Like they want to make themselves known to specific people at certain time, but sometimes seemingly random, like crossing a road, for example, and with varying degrees of aggression and power. It's tough to wrap my head around it all, but I know the Lord was with me every step of the way. I guess I just had to go through it, experience it to be more refined by coming out of the fires of fear with this hellish experience. Now I just stay keenly aware of my surroundings while praying beforehand if I go out even near the woods or anywhere alone at night. I might not hunt this year, but I will make sure to next. I find that anything worth understanding should be looked through a biblical lens to try and make sense of things more clearly. I wish we could rid the world of these creatures, and wish the government/powers that be would at least tell the truth and inform us about these beasts in our national state parks, or even our own backyards, while protecting and serving people. Even though this terrifying experience will forever be solidified into my being, and family and friends don't believe me or even try to understand, I will never forget that night. That changed me, and I think made me into a better person overall. God says we should hold dominion over all animals or beasts on this earth, but that doesn't mean we go out hunting them either. I believe that this is more of a spiritual issue than we could ever imagine. But sorry, I've done enough of my ranting. I have some photos of the next day, of the aftermath, with evidence such as things knocked down, holes/scratches on the porch, doggy door almost ripped off, major bedding out back by the pond and a large track, along with some video that I may have been too scared to go into and edit myself, but I will eventually. I would be glad to share if I can get the technology side of my brain to get it done properly. Thank you, Jeff, for allowing me to share my encounter. And of course, you can share and edit as you see fit. And he leaves his phone number, and I will be contacting. See, if you hear this, you and my gentleman friend from Ohio, I will be contacting you both. I find that interesting, though. And I did not purposely use C's encounter because he mentioned the state parks, but I found that connection interesting because he mentioned it. And if you have been here for a while, you know that I do consider there to be a 5-state hotspot on the East Coast: Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and North Carolina. And I think everything spreads up and down from there. Ohio is right there, just bordering right there. So it's had many experiences, such as Pennsylvania as well. But interestingly enough, West Virginia and Ohio falls right in that little hotspot area. And I don't believe that's the only hotspot area in our country. I think there are quite a few others. And I think what happens is these creatures tend to use those 5 states more often than the others, but they spread out from there, if that makes any sense. Great experience, and I'm looking forward to talking to both of these guys. And the last part of this upload, since I'm talking about tie-ins and things that connect all of this together, and I talked about the government and how they are pretty much the root of everything. They're non-admittals. I've shared this book many times before. Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. But I think right here, the first page, besides the next couple of things I'm going to share, is the most important. Department of Defense, Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. Case 20 SB 0058, cleared for public release, May 11th, 2021. The views expressed in this publication are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect on the official policy or position of the Department of Defense or the United States government. The public release clearance of this publication by the Department of Defense does not imply Department of Defense endorsement or accuracy of the material. So they had to read this book. Why? Well, because Jonathan Axelrod and a few others were part of this book, and they worked with naval intelligence to investigate the Tic Tac Nimitz video. There were 2 videos. One was released to the public. Another was never released to the public. And his team, Axelrod's team, investigated both. And you want to tell me why after the investigation they went to Skinwalker Ranch? Most people who spent more than a day on Skinwalker Ranch brought something home with them from that property. The effect was almost universal and universally unpleasant. Even during the NIDS days when Keller and Eric Davis spent literally hundreds of days on nights watches on Skinwalker Ranch, 96 to 99, their wives would occasionally remark waking up at night and seeing people in their bedrooms or black shadows walking through their home. These post-ranch events were noticeable but mild during the NIDS years, but they escalated dramatically with the AAWSAP BAASS program at the ranch in 2009. All 5 actively serving intelligence agency personnel who visited the ranch during that program experienced profound anomalies while on the property. And even more importantly, all 5 brought something home with them. Jonathan Axelrod and his family are the poster children for the eruption of anomalies in the home following trips to Skinwalker Ranch. For more than a dozen years following his July 2009, and so subsequent trips to the ranch, Axelrod's wife and then teenage children were subjected to nightmarish dogmen appearing in their backyard, to blue, red, yellow, and white orbs routinely floating through the home and in their yard, to black shadow people standing over their beds when they awoke, and to a relentless barrage of loud, unexplained footsteps walking up and down the stairs of their home. What was once a normal middle-class home in suburban Virginia became an inferno of bizarre, unexplained phenomena, and Axelrod and his family were certain that the trigger for this transformation was his first trip to Skinwalker Ranch. It is indeed lucky that Axelrod and his family were and is extremely stable psychologically, well-adjusted and grounded, and prone to matter-of-fact reactions of these events. On top of Axelrod's wife seeing and his children seeing Dogman in the backyard, they had seen it in other locations around their surrounding area where they were. At one point, the 2 boys, his 2 sons, who were teenagers at the time, had seen them or seen a dogman-like creature off in the distance, and they were half a mile from their home. So these things, these anomalies, were stalking a person's family who worked for our government's intelligence agencies. Yet our government denies connections, denies anything, denies everything, denies it all, which is just absurd. This is one of the more interesting things, and it connects to what I shared with you with the acreages of land owned by state and federal. So in the beginning of the summer of 2009, the B.A.S, we'll just call it B.A.S, B-A-A-S-S team, comprised of 6 investigators, 3 scientists, and 2 technicians, alternated 1 to 2 week work missions to interview area residents as well as to deploy sensor instrumentation at Skinwalker Ranch. By March of 2010, approximately 30 residents who had reported firsthand encounters were interviewed in their homes. The group comprised of lifelong residents of the area, all living within 1 to 2 mile radius of Skinwalker Ranch. They include 4 local police officers, 11 Ute tribesmen, including a shaman, 12 ranchers, 6 business owners, and the director of the local Fish and Wildlife Office, half the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 11 of these individuals recounted firsthand encounters with a dog or wolf-like creature that could run at speed on 2 legs, sometimes in conjunction with orb-like activity. Its estimated height, 6 to 7 feet. Many of those reported observations took place during daytime hours. Some sightings were very recent, only a month or 2 old, while others had taken place a few years ago. The observations had occurred within a 5-mile radius of Skinwalker Ranch. From the details provided in the interviews about this bipedal creature, they constructed a map of a migration route of these creatures. So, a book that was written about the investigation of the Nimitz Tic Tac by government intelligence agency people, gone through by the Department of Defense, mentions Dogman many times throughout this book, and other anomalies like shadow men, orbs. So it is all connected. How? We don't know. But it is. Quick little thing here to end the upload with. My dad, after the Vietnam War, he was in the Brown Water Navy during the war. He then went and did many more years in the service, was in Germany at a base. And he was doing guard duty one night with another guy. Ironically enough, his name was Wolf. Just a huge... I met the guy once when I was a kid. Just a huge... big, wrestler-sized black man. One of the sweetest guys I've ever met in my life. And I only met him once. He's since passed. But he was my dad's best friend. Like, they went to war together. They worked together after. They were best of friends. He actually saved my mom's life once. But they are on guard duty outside of this huge hangar in Germany. And they notice this glowing kind of light inside the facility, this hangar. And my dad had recalled it being empty the night before. Like, there was nothing in there. And they weren't supposed to look in it. That was like, don't, stand here, do your job. At the end of your, shift, go back to your barracks, whatever. Don't look in the building. They never told him why, and they don't have to, because it's our government. That's the military. You just do what they say. Well, my dad being my dad, and his buddy being his buddy, they look like, what the hell's glowing in this? There was nothing in there. There was nothing in there. When they opened the door a little more to look in, the glow had stopped. And my dad said it was this greenish yellow glow. And it was one of the strangest things he's seen after the war. He had seen some really crazy, kooky things during the Vietnam War, on the rivers of Vietnam. But this was one of the things that, when talking to him about the paranormal and, the weird, he will always bring it up because he just found it so fascinating that, you know, you're standing and you kind of see this glow. You're talking to your bud, and you turn and you look at each other and you're like, let's go see what's in there. And there's nothing there. The glow's gone. Everything's gone. And both of them saw it. So it wasn't one of them hallucinating. Anyway, with that, I would like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. All of us are treated with the respect that we deserve. And that is because of all of you. And I appreciate that and thank you. Please, with that being said, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, our pets, our family and friends, the people that mean the most to us. These things are real. These creatures, these events are real. They happen. They are dangerous. Share this information with those that you love and care about. Even if they don't believe in what we know, share it anyway, because it may save their lives someday. Just having that little bit of information. Tell them what the Oz effect is. Tell them what, little things. Slip it in a conversation, and it may just save their life. And with that, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.